am 80 years old today. Most people my age spend their time thinking about the future of their grandchildren. But I'm spending my time looking at a piece of yellow paper that has destroyed me. I just found something in the wall of my old house. It is a letter I wrote 50 years ago. After reading it, I realized I have wasted 20 years of my life for no reason at all. If you are young, please listen to my story. Do not make the same mistake I did. My name is Evelyn. Last week I decided to finally sell my family home. It is a large, gray house in a quiet suburb of Chicago. I have lived here for over 50 years. My husband, Arthur, passed away 5 years ago. Since then the house has felt too big. It felt like a museum of a life that was mostly lived in silence. I was packing my things in the master bedroom. I was moving a heavy wooden bookshelf when I noticed something strange. There was a loose board in the wall. I pulled it back, expecting to find dust or perhaps an old mouse nest. Instead, I found a small, hidden space. Inside was a single blue envelope. As soon as I saw it, my heart stopped. I recognized that blue paper. I bought it in 1976. I remember that year clearly. It was the year Arthur and I stopped speaking. We didn't get a divorce. Back then, people in our circle didn't really do that. Instead, we became strangers living in the same house. We shared a kitchen, we shared a child, but we did not share our lives. For 20 years, we lived in a Cold War. I slept in the guest room. We only spoke when it was absolutely necessary. I told myself I was right to be angry. I told myself he deserved my silence. I thought I was protecting my pride. With shaking hands, I opened the envelope. The paper was dry and thin. The ink was fading, but the handwriting was definitely mine. It was a letter I wrote to Arthur on the night of our biggest fight. I remember writing it. I was so angry that my hands were shaking. I had hidden it in the wall because I wanted to send it the next morning. But I never did. I sat on the dusty floor and began to read. The ink was dark and sharp. As I read the words, I could feel the heat of my 30-year-old self. I remembered that night in 1976 like it was yesterday. It was our 10th wedding anniversary. I had spent the entire day preparing. I bought a new dress. I cooked Arthur's favorite meal, beef pot roast with carrots and potatoes. I even bought an expensive bottle of wine we couldn't really afford. I waited. 6 o'clock became 7. 7 became 9. By 10 o'clock the food was cold and my heart was turning into ice. When Arthur finally walked through the door at 11:30 p.m., he smelled like cigarette smoke and cheap coffee. He didn't have flowers. He didn't have a gift. In fact, he didn't even say, "Happy anniversary." He just looked tired. "I had a long day at the office, Evie," he said. That was it. No explanation. No apology. I was so hurt that I couldn't even scream. I just turned around and walked away. Later that night, I heard him on the phone in the kitchen. He was speaking in a low voice. I stood by the door and listened. I heard him say, "It's done. She doesn't know yet, but it's finally over. I'll see you tomorrow morning to finish the paperwork." My world collapsed. I didn't ask him who he was talking to. I didn't ask him what paperwork he meant. In my mind, the answer was obvious. He was seeing another woman. He was planning to leave me. My sadness turned into a burning, toxic rage. That was the night I wrote the letter. It wasn't a love letter. It was a list of every mistake he had ever made. I called him a liar. I told him that I hated him and that I would never forgive him for breaking our family. I wrote, "From this day forward, you are a ghost in this house. You will never have my heart again." I was so proud of that letter. I thought I was being strong. I thought I was protecting myself from being hurt again. I hidden the letter in the wall, planning to give it to him during breakfast. But the next morning when I saw his face, I decided that even a letter was too much for him. I decided that silence would be his punishment. For the next 20 years, that silence became our language. We lived in a house that felt like a library where no one was allowed to speak. We raised our daughter Sarah in that environment. She grew up watching a mother who was cold and a father who was invisible. Arthur tried it first. For the first few years he would bring me coffee in the morning. He would try to hold my hand while we watched the evening news. But I always pulled away. I was a strong woman, and I believed that being strong meant never forgetting a mistake. Eventually, Arthur stopped trying. He accepted the life I chose for us. We became two ghosts haunting the same hallways. We ate dinner in total silence, the only sound being the clinking of forks against plates. By the time 1996 arrived and we finally started speaking again, the spark was gone. We were just two old people who were used to being lonely together. Now back in the present day, I looked deeper into the hole in the wall. There was something else stuck behind where the letter had been. It was a small, folded piece of yellow bank paper. My heart hammered in my chest as I pulled it out. It was a notice of paid debt from October 1976. Attached to the bank paper was a small handwritten note from a local lawyer. It read, "Mr. Miller, thank you for your final payment. I know working those extra night shifts at the warehouse was difficult, especially on top of your regular job. But your father's secret debt is now fully paid. Your family home is safe. Your wife will never have to know how close you were to losing everything. You are a good man, Arthur." I fell back against the wall, the paper trembling in my hands. The long day at the office wasn't an excuse. He had been working a second job at a warehouse to save our home. The other person on the phone wasn't a lover. It was the lawyer. The paperwork wasn't a divorce. It was our mortgage. He didn't bring me flowers that night because he was using every single penny to make sure we didn't end up on the street. He looked tired because he was literally working himself to death for me. And how did I reward him? I gave him 20 years of cold, bitter silence. I stood there for a long time, clutching those two pieces of paper. One was full of my hate and the other was full of his love. For 20 years I thought I was the victim. I thought I was the one who had been hurt. But looking at that bank notice, I realized the truth. Arthur was the hero and I was the villain of our story. He had sacrificed his sleep, his health, and his peace of mind to save our home. And in return, I had stolen his joy. I think about the vacations we never took. I think about the laughs we never shared because I was too busy being right. I remember the times he tried to tell me something, but I would simply walk out of the room. He died 5 years ago. He died never knowing that I finally found the truth. He carried that secret to his grave just to keep me from feeling guilty. That is the ultimate kind of love, and I threw it away for 2 decades. I am 80 years old now, and if there is one thing I have learned, it is this. Anger is a poison. It is a poison that we drink ourselves, hoping that the other person will die. But it only destroys us. It eats away at our happiness and leaves us with nothing but a house full of dust and old letters. To those of you who are younger, please listen to me. If you are holding a grudge against someone you love, let it go. If you are waiting for an apology before you speak to your spouse or your parents again, don't wait. Life is incredibly short. One day you are 30 and full of fire, and the next day you are 80 sitting on a cold floor, realizing you wasted the best years of your life on a misunderstanding. Time is the only thing in this world that you can never get back. You can earn more money and you can buy a new house, but you cannot buy back a single minute of lost love. I am selling this house tomorrow. I am leaving the silence behind. I cannot change the past, but I can tell you my story. Forgive quickly. Love loudly. Because too late is a very lonely place to be.